On the biggest stage in the world, FanDuel's changing the game because sometimes your player gets subbed off and your bet goes with them. Not anymore. With FanDuel's Super Sub, if your player's subbed out, your bet stays in. That's right. If your player leaves the match, your bet continues on with the substitute. So you're still in it until the final whistle. Visit FanDuel.com. Get started now. Let there be goals this summer on FanDuel.
21 plus select states for Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. 18 plus DCKYWY. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-MY-RESET. 888-789-7777. Visit ccpg.org/chat. Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Maryland. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org. Call 800-327-5050. Massachusetts. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Text HOPE-NY in New York. Call 877-770-7867. Louisiana.
Visit FanDuel.com. Get started now. Let there be goals this summer on FanDuel.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi!
Okay, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Okay, welcome back. We did the heavy work. We talked about Iran. We were responsible. We're good citizens. We're informed on the current issues of the day. Now let's have some fun and let's talk about the New York Knicks and a really phenomenal story. And a New York story, as I said before. We're joined by Fred Katz. Fred Katz joins us from the Knicks locker room last night. Fred is a senior NBA writer and reporter for The Athletic, but he's writing a new book that comes out Under the Bright Lights, which is the perfectly timed story of how the Knicks became winners again. Boy, was he lucky. He was luckier than the Knicks that they would win, and it's perfectly timed for his book because this is a hell of a story. 53 years, and they're back. First, Fred, thank you for being with us. Fred, tell us, what was it like in the locker room? Fred Katz, can you hear me? We have a technical issue with Fred. They'll work on that for a second. Fred did a great piece on the locker room last night where he was talking about OG, who doesn't drink, and they were passing around a bottle of tequila, and he imbibed, and the alcohol was really a shock to his system. But he talked about total jubilation, as you can imagine. I mean, this story has so many dimensions, right? It has the Jaylen Brunson extraordinary, just extraordinary, his play. MVP, sure, but they're talking about him as possibly one of the greatest Knicks ever, and that's in the atmosphere of Walt Frazier, Willis Reed. But Jaylen Brunson, for his size, the way he moves, the way he gets to the hoop, just really extraordinary. And remember, Jim Dolan took a lot of heat about Jaylen Brunson, and there are a lot of people asking questions about Brunson and could he do it? And owners, you know, that's the worst job, by the way, to own a team. When they lose, it's all Dolan's fault. When they win, it's the players' victory. But yeah, Jaylen Brunson, who played a phenomenal game with his father as a coach. My gosh, what a father-son moment to see them hug. It reminded me of my election night. My father was still with us, and we hug on the stage, and I saw the look on Jaylen's father's face, and it was the same look my father had, and I saw Jaylen crying, and I was crying, just on so many levels, and they would not give up. They would not give up. Whatever the lead, they would not give up, and that's New Yorkers. But we have Fred Katz with us. We'll go back to the first question. Fred, what was the locker room like?
The locker room was about as giddy as you would imagine. They were very happy. They were imbibing. They had their Michelob Ultras and their champagne, and the floor was drenched in whatever drinks they were spraying on each other, and they were just celebrating as you would expect any champion to do so. I mean, I think this is a team that is very close. They have a very good personal dynamic in there, and a lot of guys spent the entire season talking about personal sacrifice and sacrificing ego and sacrificing roles and whatever else that comes with the trek to achieving a championship. And getting there, I think, was just this incredible feeling for all of them, and the celebration definitely showed it.
They were so shocking in their comebacks and their will and their drive and their lack of ego and playing as a team. Where does that come from? Is that Leon Rose? Where is that from?
I think ultimately, whenever you look at a team, it's a reflection of the leadership of the best player. And that's not to say it's 100% Jaylen Brunson, because it's not. They're adults and everybody's their own person, and people are going to act how they're going to act. But ultimately, teams are a reflection of whoever their best players are. And if you have a guy who is uncoachable and who is not going to respond well to tough coaching, or is not going to respond well to criticism, or is going to play me-first basketball, then often there's a trickle-down effect all the way down the rest of the locker room. But when you have a guy who's like Jaylen Brunson, who has these remarkable leadership qualities, who a coach can pull to the side and criticize, who a coach can criticize in front of the team, who is willing to sacrifice and as willing to work and show up early to practice and all that kind of stuff as the other guys, there's a trickle-down effect with the rest of the roster, and people tend to fall in line. Brunson is not some kind of vocal leader. There are all these, as you know better than I, there are a gazillion different types of leadership styles, and it's not like one is particularly better than another in a vacuum, but they have to be authentic to who you are. And Brunson is very much a lead by example sort of person. He's not a rah, rally everybody up in the locker room kind of guy. He's very much I'm going to show up, I'm going to do my job, and if you show up and you do your job too, we'll get along great kind of guy. And they've set up this very workmanlike, very steady, very even keeled on an emotional level sort of culture. And I think that starts with Brunson, but it also is a credit to everybody else who fell into that.
Did you see Brunson in the locker room?
I did.
How was he, and how was his father?
He was emotional in a different way than some of the other guys. There were some of the guys who were just going absolutely crazy, screaming, jumping up and down, singing along with songs, drinking, whatever else, going nuts. He was much more subdued. He's a much more subdued personality in general. He did cry, which was not a surprise when he finally got there. He was walking around with the trophy a lot. He was holding on to that thing as if he never wanted to let go. He was, I would say, relatively subdued, and he looked incredibly at peace. And I did not see for 1 second him with anything other than the biggest smile imaginable on his face. And as for his father, you said it better than I could. It is an accomplishment that would be impossible for most people to be able to relate to, not just to be able to accomplish that on your own, but also to be able to accomplish it with your father on your team with you. It's an amazing story.
Yeah, it is. And, Jaylen, he had more pressure on him. He was the go-to guy. He was the captain. He'll figure it out. He has his father. He has the pressure of his father. He has to vindicate his father. He doesn't get the job done. His father looks bad. He really was in a difficult situation. And when he was victorious, I could see why, rather than being jubilant, he was more subdued. You could see him in the interviews right afterwards on the court. He couldn't speak. He could not speak. He had a towel over his head. He was crying. He literally could not speak because he was that emotional,
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that. I really understand that.
Well, he's somebody who his whole life, I think a lot of his success has come from the fact that he is so in control of his own emotions. Which is part of why he's so good in a late game situation, in a tie game. You give him the ball, every single Knicks fan, every single Knicks player, every single Knicks coach knows they can rely on him because he's so steady under pressure, because he never really feels too high, he never really feels too low. He's this incredibly stoic sort of personality. And I think part of him, quite honestly, getting to know him after covering him for the last half decade, I think part of him sometimes doesn't really know how to let himself go in that sense, because he's such an unbelievably disciplined human being that sometimes just getting to that point, I think part of him is like, what am I supposed to do when I don't necessarily need the discipline in this moment?
Yeah, I think there's something to that. You know, he did make a comment every summer, alone in the gym practicing, you know, to do what he did, to develop those skills at his size. You know, his father's bigger than he is, which I didn't really appreciate until you saw them side by side. Those skills are so extraordinary. The number of hours, the discipline to master that artwork, because it is artwork the way he does it. The ball control under the hoop, it really is special. But you had a number. Well, let me ask you one question. The best Knick ever, they're saying. Would you go that far?
I wouldn't go that far yet, because I think longevity does matter. And Patrick Ewing did it for a decade and a half. Clyde Frazier was around the Knicks for a long time, and he won 2 titles. Willis Reed, same thing, around the Knicks for a long time, 2 titles. Brunson has been here for 4 years, and I don't think you can necessarily be the best one in the history of the franchise if you've only been there for 4 years. That being said, I think there's a very good argument to be made, one I would probably agree with, that this is the best 4-year stretch that anybody has ever had in the history of the franchise. I also think he's only 29 years old. There's a pretty darn good chance he is going to be a Knick for a very, very long time. And I think it's more than reasonable to say that he's on track to become the best Knick ever. And I don't even know if he necessarily needs a second ring in order to get there. If he maintains as a top 10 NBA player, top 5 NBA player like he is right now, and he continues to lead really good teams for years to come, which seems like the most likely scenario at this point because he's only 29 and the Knicks are in a very good situation set up with their contracts and the talent that they have around him, then I think there's a very realistic chance that however many years from now you want to say, Brunson is right up there in the career leaders, with only a couple other Knicks in the history of the franchise, and we're talking about him as the best player in the history of the franchise. I think he's very much on track for that, but I think it's a little premature to say it after 4 years, just because those other guys were great.
OG, great. Karl Anthony Towns, great. Let me ask you one last question. The game was so physical. So physical. I mean, the game has changed so much over the years. I remember watching the games with my father where if somebody just touched somebody, he would jump up from the couch, foul, you missed it, ref, you missed it. You know, there was a time when really you couldn't push, you couldn't shove. These guys, it looks close to MMA. Watching what they're doing under the boards. You don't get a clean shot ever. They're pushing, they're shoving. I don't know that it hasn't gone too far. What do you think?
I think the playoffs tend to get more physical as it goes along. I totally agree with you. A lot of the series was very physical, and Game 5 was super physical. I think it kind of depends on the night that you get it in the NBA. Some games will look different than other games nowadays. The Spurs are an incredibly physical team. The Knicks are an incredibly physical team. I like it, to be honest. I think the beauty of the playoffs is that by the end of a really long run for two teams that are just exhausted and they're beat, and everyone's dealing with injuries and playing through having nicked up here and having this thing twisted and whatever else, that guys are just going at each other and the game slows down, and you just kind of have to see who is going to grit it out, and that's who ends up winning the title. I enjoy that process. It's so much more arduous than just like letting everybody roam free and seeing how that goes in a quick elimination tournament.
Yeah.
So I kind of enjoy it.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, it's a beautiful New York story. We're all jealous that you were there in the locker room last night. We're going to be looking forward to your book, Under the Bright Lights. It couldn't be better timed. Fred Katz, thank you very much for being with us. All New Yorkers, enjoy the Knicks.